Welcome, everybody, to Sports on Tap. My name is Ed Dick, alongside Rob Troutman, Sean Duffy, and Josh Jeffy. We are here for our Week 3 high school football coverage of the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Southwestern Conference, the Suburban League, and the Great Lakes Conference. You are watching us on YouTube on our Sports on Tap channel. Make sure you hit subscribing to get the notifications of our upcoming shows like this one and many others that usually happen on Monday nights. Follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcast. That's where you will get live updates of our featured games of the week, along with various other information as well. Our website is sportsontappodcast.com for scores, schedules, and standings. And, of course, we have our tremendous sponsors. We'll start this week off with Bandwagon Fantasy Sports. Think you know college football better than us? Join our free league on the Bandwagon Fantasy app to find out. Bandwagon is the only simple, engaging, and competitive fantasy sports platform focused on teams rather than individual players. Make sure you go to the link to the Bandwagon Sports app in the App Store. Our league name specifically is Sports on Tap CFB 2022. The passcode is SOT. Quickly, how it works: every college football team in the system is assigned a preseason dollar value. 106 teams to draft from all of the Division I conferences. You have $36 of draft credits to draft your roster of 8 teams. Each team win gives you points in the standings. Road wins are built into the tiebreaker. You can add and drop teams up to 25 times at any point during the season, and then these get updated after week 6. So teams that may be worth a little bit less now could be worth a lot more later. So make sure you figure out those teams, get down that bandwagon, and succeed throughout the rest of the year. Remember, jumping on a team before they get hot gives you a huge advantage. Talk lots of trash and figure out who truly is the king or queen of college football in 2022. We are also brought to you by Ray Felton State Farm Insurance. Ray is always recruiting new team members, whether it be sales or service. There is always an opportunity for the right candidate. Call his office today at 234-284-2996 to learn more about the opportunities available. At Ray Felton State Farm Insurance, they always put the customer's needs first. Call for a quick quote to get the discounts you deserve and the coverage you are looking for. RRT Productions, we shoot, we edit, you win. Make sure you follow them at, go check out their website, or our website, www.rrt-productions.com. RRT Productions can shoot video of your event, game, or special occasion. Make sure you visit the website to contact us today. Also, GV Artwork, www.gvartwork.com. Use the promo code ONTAP10 for 10% off your order. And last and certainly not least, the sponsors of our Player of the Week contest, G&G Fitness Equipment, www.livefit.com. You can also follow them on Twitter at G&G Fitness EQ. We also are going to be joined by 2 special guests tonight: Nordonia quarterback Joey Palinkas and Avon defensive end Avery Viancourt. Joey Palinkas will be here at 8:15. Viancourt will be at 8:30. Before we get to all that, we have lots of action to get to from our respective conferences. As always, we will start with Josh Jeffy to go over the Greater Cleveland Conference. And I will take a break, and let's get to it here.
Yeah, good job, Ed. You do need a break. It's a nice time to get a swig of chocolate milk or water, whatever you choose. So, yes, we'll move on to week 3 of the Greater Cleveland Conference. We're going to start off in Brunswick, or at Highland, actually. But anyways, no matter where it was, Highland came away with a 27-6 victory. This one was all Highland. Brunswick got down early, 13-0 at the half. The lone Brunswick highlight came late in the game when quarterback Ethan Roxandich hit James Snyder from 47 yards out for their only score. Once again, that game ended in a 27-6 Highland victory. Highland improves to 3-0. Brunswick is still looking for that first victory on the year. They are 0-3. Another team in the GCC that is looking for their first win of the year is the Euclid Panthers. They faced Perry in this one, and Euclid actually put up a strong fight in this first half of the game. They were actually up 15-7 in the second quarter. However, they did give up a touchdown with 1 second left in the first half. That made it 21-15 Perry. Perry would go on to win this game 42-21. First-year coach for the Panthers, Robert Andrews, is still searching for that first win. It's not going to get any easier for him coming into week 4. We'll get on to that, the week 4 schedule later on here in the segment. A surprise, Strongsville Mustangs 2-1 on the year with a 41-20 victory over the Brecksville. I'll let Sean do it, but the Brecksville Bees. Strongsville improves to 2-1. For the Mustangs, they had a team total 313 rushing yards. This was actually a full team effort for them. On special teams, Boogie Griffin had a 56-yard punt return for a touchdown. On defense, James Swayze returned an interception for a touchdown. So Strongsville, this is their second win in a row after being shut out by Avon Lake in week 1. So they are on to some good momentum going into week 4, which actually be their first conference game coming up. Excuse me. In a very tough game, the Menor Cardinals faced Riverside, and Menor was actually down in this one 6-0, and actually had to punt the ball late in the fourth quarter. Riverside did fumble the ball, giving the Cardinals a chance. It was one big completion from Scotty Fox to Nick Jarris. That's eventually ended up setting up the Mitchell Waite 10-yard touchdown run for to put the Cardinals up 7-6. Now, Riverside did have an opportunity for the game-winning field goal as a 28-yard field goal. However, it went wide right as time expired, giving Menor the 7-6 victory. Menor improves to 2-1 on the year. Riverside drops to 2-1. And a side note, Fox 8 does have a good story about Menor linebacker after Riverside did miss this field goal. He is on video. You can see him actually, instead of going to celebrate with his teammates, which he eventually did, he actually shared a brief second with some of the Riverside players, congratulating them on a good, hard-fought game. It was a really good story. Head over to fox8.com to see that. Also, the Menor Cardinals on Twitter did post that story. So if you have a quick second, give it a chance. I would really recommend that. Back to the GCC Week 3 recap. Medina continues their hot offensive play with a 45-35 victory over the Wadsworth Grizzlies. Medina improves to 2-1. Wadsworth drops to 2-1. You know, give credit to Wadsworth a little bit. They're having a sneaky good year so far. They do have some good weapons on the offensive end, and they were able to match up with Medina pretty good. Medina gained momentum at the half, though. Jack Wojak had an 85-yard kickoff return for a touchdown right before halftime, and that really propelled Medina's offense in the second half. Of course, they were led by Danny Stoddard in this one. He totaled 20 of 29 for 351 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Excuse me. Wide receiver for the Bees, the Air Bees, Austin Knowles had 11 catches, 212 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Michael Gleski added a 30-yard field goal in the fourth quarter for the Bees. But this is once again a game of big plays. Not much running the ball for the Bees. It was mostly passing as usual, but they came away with a 45-35 victory. Big props here to the final game in the GCC. The Solon Comets, they come down from 14-0 at halftime to beat Stowe Monroe Falls 17-14. These are some of the numbers. Cleveland.com had them at the half for Solon. They had negative 29 yards rushing, 72 yards of total offense at the half. Quarterback Charlie Bubonics overcame 8 sacks in this game to lead Solon on to the victory. The first score for Solon came from Bubonics. He threw the ball 75 yards. It was a 75-yard touchdown pass to Brian McQuaid. E.J. Taylor did score the second touchdown for the Comets. It was a 6-yard run. But the game winner was kicker Aaron Teitelbaum, 42-yard game-winning field goal for the Comets. They improved to 2-1 on the season. Stowe drops to 1-2. Aaron Teitelbaum is my nominee for the G&G Fitness Player of the Week. And you know, every time we can give some props to the kickers, that one goes to Ed Dick for that one. But you know, in high school, you don't get a lot of walk-off game-winning field goal attempts. And when you have an ability to hit a 42-yarder, you got to give props to Aaron Teitelbaum for that one. Next week's schedule in the GCC, we do have one conference game. It's going to be Solon traveling to Strongsville. Brunswick will travel out to Toledo Waite. Menor will play host to Football North. That's the Ontario team, Team Canada. Stowe will travel to Medina. And as I mentioned earlier, Euclid will have a tough matchup this week. In week 4, they will go to Byers Field and they will take on the St. Ignatius Wildcats. So, gentlemen, an interesting week once again in the GCC. A tough game for the Menor Cardinals. A really great game, a good victory for the Solon Comets. Medina's keeping on their way. Strongsville's coming up and getting some good victories. And, of course, Euclid and Brunswick still searching for that elusive first victory of the year. That wraps it up. We'll send it back to you, Ed.
Great job, Josh. And yeah, it's very exciting games this week in the conference. I mean, Bender and Riverside. I mean, we were shooting text messages back and forth there, and as that was going on, and what a great game by Riverside to give Menor all they can handle. That was the first game against a Lake County opponent in quite a while, from what I understand from Menor. So the fact that they played someone basically in their backyard and they gave them all they can handle. You wonder if that'll encourage the other teams to want to give Menor a go there, especially with the playoffs being expanded as they are. Josh, as we're starting to get close to conference play, as we can see in the schedule here, only one conference game next week. But what are some of the keys that you're looking for, or that some of the teams you think are going to start separating themselves as it moves forward?
Well, I mean, I guess in the Greater Cleveland Conference, no one's really kind of pushed ahead of the pack. I mean, you can see all teams have their strengths and all teams have their weaknesses. Some are greater than others, obviously, but obviously you look at Medina, they got that high-powered offense. Now, as we get into conference play, when you get to more familiar opponents, are teams going to be able to defend a little better against that pass because what's coming? Or does Medina just have enough athletes to beat that? Menor, I don't really have an identity yet what to make of that team. They've had some really close games, and they're just kind of finding their way. I've been really impressed, actually, with Solon and Strongsville, especially Strongsville. I was at that first game, and they, to be honest, looking at them, the way they played, it looked like they were in for a long season. But give credit to Avon Lake that did shut them out that day. But they've really come back strong these last 2 weeks. And again, Solon with a nail-biter win. I mean, they're finding ways to win. Now, for Brunswick and Euclid, obviously not the best way to start a season. But it looks like it could be a little tough go for them. But as the season continues, you get into that familiar opponents. Not only do they find ways to defend you and ways to play you, but ways to get around how they play. So maybe they can squeak out a couple of victories as we get into conference play. It's going to be fun, though, for sure.
It's a very exciting conference. I mean, it's the big school conference, save for Solon jumping down to Division II this year, but they're going to be very, very competitive nonetheless. Especially as we get into conference play, and we're going to get a real good look at good conference opener with Solon in Strongsville next week. All right, let's shift over to the Southwestern Conference with Rob.
All right, thanks, Ed. And we'll start at that North Olmsted-Amherst game. And North Olmsted in this game just dominated from the get-go. In the first quarter, North Olmsted scored 27 points. They were up 27-0 in this game. But Amherst, they wouldn't give up. Bishop Friesen, the running back for Amherst, he had 2 touchdowns, one from 4 yards out and one from 65 yards out. And I'm sure Ed will get to the North Olmsted stats in this one because the guest we had, Jared Kelly, he absolutely went berserk in this football game. And no stopping him running the ball in this one. But they got as close as 27-14. They had 14 unanswered to Amherst. And I love that they don't give up in a lot of these games, but that's as close as they would get to 27-14. They lose 58-14 in this game. North Olmsted 1-2, and Amherst now 0-3 on the season. Glenville and Avon, this was a really, really hard-fought game. Avon, they did have 365 yards of offense in this game. 34 yards, though, only for running back Jacorian Caffey. Carried the ball 13 times, but they did find a little more success in the passing game. And I know when we went to the Avon Medina game, that's one thing Coach Elder said. There's going to be times when the team is going to find their strength is running, but then there's other games they're going to have to pass. And it was senior quarterback Sam DiTilio. He hit him 5 times for 48 yards was Caffey, helping DiTilio throw for 209 yards on 16 of 32. They also did have a decent run game. They had 14 carries for 63 yards in this game. And DiTilio, he connected with tight end Cam Santee on a big pass to score a touchdown in this one. But Glenville running back Deshaunte Jones, and this is a guy getting offers from Kentucky, Syracuse, and Marshall, and he's built pretty well, and he was tough to stop. I mean, after the first contact, he was running over the defense. 111 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one, and it was Glenville squeaking by Avon 27-21. First loss for Avon on the year. They dropped to 2-1. Glenville now 3-0 as they continue on. They've been playing some very tough teams, and this was a really good game. All right, moving on to St. John Baptist. They're out of New York. They came to Avon Lake to play the Shoremen here, and really from start to finish, it was the Shoremen all over St. John the Baptist. It was junior running back Wade Nelson. He ran for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. And once again, the Shoremen defense getting the job done. Senior-led cornerback Keegan Rodock, he had 2 interceptions in the first quarter. And in the first half, it was the Avon Lake defense holding St. John the Baptist to 3 yards total in the first half. Looking forward to our interview with Avery Viancourt. He's coming on the defensive end. He's the captain of this defense. We'll talk a little bit of defense. Avon Lake continually, every year, continues to play impressive defense, and they have a big game coming up with Avon coming up here in week 4. We'll be able to talk to him about as well. All right, Berea-Midpark, they get their first win with a 21-6 win over Columbus St. Francis de Sales. It was 21-6. Hudson Devins, the running back for Berea-Midpark, he really did a little everything in this game. 18 carries for 68 yards. He had 2 receptions for 79. He also had 2 touchdowns. And on defense, he collected 11 tackles on the night. Again, 21-6, Berea-Midpark, a big winner over Columbus St. Francis de Sales. Lorain and Elyria, this game was finished on Saturday. It went Saturday afternoon, and give credit to the Elyria defense. They blanked Lorain in this one, 26-0. Lorain drops to 1-2, Elyria 2-1, but it was Elyria running back Lance Glover. He carried the Pioneers in this one. He rushed for 204 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. And again, the defense for Elyria, give them credit. They're having a great season as well, only giving up 6 points in the last 2 combined games. So Elyria getting big wins over Bedford, and now Lorain here, 26-0. All right, Midview versus Elyria Catholic. That was one of the games. And Sean, you can jump in on this, or actually we'll probably talk about this later in the show. So I'll briefly go over it. As Midview, they fell to Elyria Catholic 35-14. Midview drops to 1-2. Elyria Catholic 2-1. Mark Reed, they jumped out to 7-0 after a turnover by Elyria Catholic, and it was cornerback Jeremy Mathis for the Middies. He picked off Brady Cook for a pick 6. But after that, it was Levi Ellis's game, and he's having a heck of a year, and he couldn't be stopped in this one. 35-14. Again, Elyria Catholic with a big win there. Normandy and North Ridgeville. We'll also go over this a little later, as Josh was at this one for our featured game of the week. He has video highlights on our website. Go to sportsontappodcast.com, and also you could see that on our YouTube channel where there's highlights from this entire game. Normandy fell 51-10 in this game, and Normandy now 2-1 on the year. North Ridgeville 3-0, and you haven't seen that in a while for North Ridgeville, but again, good job by the North Ridgeville defense. They forced turnovers on this and had a pick 6. Andrew Ennis, the running back, 7 rushes, 110 yards and a touchdown. Zach Barnhart, Interested to see what Josh has to say about him. He had to see him up close and personal. He was a freshman running back for North Ridgeville. He did have one touchdown on the night, and a big win again, 51-10 there, and we'll go over that. So stay tuned later in the show for that one. Norwalk against Olmsted Falls, and Olmsted Falls, they didn't mess around in this one. 49-6, the final. Olmsted Falls, 2-1 on the season. Norwalk, the Truckers, dropped to 0-3, and it was Rocco Conti. He rushed for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. Running back Jake Pinchak, he had 2 touchdowns, and Michael Kandow with 1 touchdown in this one. Overall, the Bulldogs in this one, they rushed 39 times for 319 yards and 7 touchdowns altogether in this game. And they got to their strength there, and Norwalk had trouble stopping the run in this one. Again, 49-6. The G&G Fitness Player of the Week in the Southwestern Conference is Elyria running back Lance Glover, who had 204 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, and a 26-0 win over Lorraine. Looking ahead into Week 4, some of the matchups, and North Ridgeville traveling to Amherst, and the big one, Avon versus Avon Lake. Berea-Midpark takes on Elyria, and Midview at Olmsted Falls. I know that's a little bit of a rivalry there as they're close by. Berea-Midpark, Elyria also should be a good one. Some really good games in the Southwestern Conference, North Ridgeville versus Amherst. So try to get out and check out these games in the Southwestern Conference. If you're in this area, check them out and go support the student athletes out there. So that's it for the Southwestern Conference. And Ed, we'll take it away back to you and the Great Lakes Conference coming up.
Thanks, Rob. Great job on the recaps there. We're starting to get into conference play here, as you mentioned, for the Southwestern Conference. It's a meat grinder. We talked about it year in and year out. North Ridgeville, we would be remiss if we didn't expound upon what North Ridgeville has done so far this year. If I read a stat correctly, they weren't even 3-0 when Demario McCall was there. So this is the first time in over a decade that they've started out the year at 3-0. They're to start out in their conference schedule against Amherst. Amherst, unfortunately, hasn't gotten things where they want them to be. So one could think that North Ridgeville could get off to a pretty good start in conference play. How do you think North Ridgeville will stack up to some of the stalwarts? I mean, Avon and Avon Lake are gonna battle it out. Olmsted Falls is always up there as well. How do you think they're going to slide in as far as what they're going to look like for the conference play?
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they do. I think they can compete with some of the big boys. It just depends. Can they play a solid 4 quarters of football against those teams? Because if you turn the ball over, they'll make you pay. But so far, I mean, these young kids, it almost seems like they don't have a worry in the world. They're just going out there and playing. I watched Josh's highlights, and, I mean, there were some big playmakers. I usually see a North Ridgeville team running the football quite a bit. I saw some deep, long passes there that were some really good throws that I thought that they connected on. So I think they're starting to spread the ball around a lot. They have a lot of weapons. They're young, but right now they're just going out having fun and playing, and I think that's going to result to a lot of success for them. Obviously, they might take some bumps and bruises, and it might be a little bit of a roller coaster ride in conference, but you can't get too down if you're North Ridgeville. You have to be pretty happy starting at 3-0. And like you said, Demario McCall, I mean, went to Ohio State. He's such a talent at North Ridgeville, and they couldn't even go 3-0. And this team right now off to a really good start, and they could continue that at Amherst, which is usually a pretty tough place to play. But we'll see what Amherst can do. They don't give up. They're going to play hard. So we'll see how that one goes for the Rangers.
Southwestern Conference starts their conference play here in Week 4, and they will continue that throughout the rest of the season. All right, let's shift over to the Suburban League with my colleague, my cohort, my compadre, Sean Duffy. He has been ready and raring to go, and let's not hold him back any further. Let's get rolling, Sean.
Thanks, Ed. I appreciate it. We'll start off in the American Division. As always, our only cross-division matchup saw Aurora taking on Twinsburg, and Aurora exercised some demons from Week 2 after a pretty tough loss in Week 2 with a dominating win over the Tigers, 42-23. The big standout here was Aurora running back Alex Tenorio. And if I butcher that name, as always, please send all fan mail to care of Rob Troutman at sportsontap.podcast@gmail.com. But Alex Tenorio had 23 carries, 157 yards, and 3 touchdowns in the big win, 42-23 over Twinsburg. Moving on, we have Barberton. May have been suffering from a little bit of a hangover here from that big win over Stowe last week as they go in and face St. Vincent St. Mary, and it was not good for the Magics. They ended up losing this one 35-0. St. Vincent St. Mary controlled this one throughout the game and from the beginning. The next one on my slate here is Buckeye versus Copley, and when you see this, you think, oh, wait, Sean, you screwed up. You put a Buckeye versus Copley basketball score. Guys, I'm talking football here. Final score in this one, Buckeye 67, Copley 54. This was the definition of a shootout. I'm going to talk about Copley because I know we're going to talk about Buckeye a little bit later. But on the Copley side of things, unfortunately, came up on the short end of the stick here. Not to get any discredit from a performance standpoint is Dajuan Owens, 360 yards passing, 6 touchdowns. Oh, yeah, he also ran for 161 yards and another touchdown to boot. He was all over the place. Receiver Luke Brenner had 13 catches and 360 yards of receiving and 4 touchdowns. So there were points being scored all over Buckeye Friday night. And when I looked at the score, when I saw the score, I literally thought someone had been talking about a basketball game. But Buckeye gets the victory 67-54. Ed will probably have a lot more on this when we go over the GLC later. My next one here is Akron North traveling to Cuyahoga Falls, and Cuyahoga Falls got into the win column with a 40-10 victory in Week 6. Running back Jaden Griffius had 3 rushing touchdowns on the night to give the Black Tigers a win here, 40-10. My next here is Highland going in and traveling, and Josh did touch on it, winning 27-6. A little bit more light on this one. Lucas Stiles had 104 yards rushing and 2 TDs on the night. But the big story in this one is Highland's defense holding Brunswick to 103 total yards. That's 100 passing yards and 3 rushing yards on the night. Very impressive, very, very impressive effort by Highland in Week 3. Ravenna gets a 42-21 victory over Kent Roosevelt. Kent Roosevelt is 1-2 on the year, but unfortunately they ran into Ravenna, who is a very, very good squad every year, and Kent Roosevelt looks to rebound in Week 4. West Branch went into Revere, and after Revere got their first win of the season, well, West Branch gave them a little dose of reality here when it's 49-7. Now the big one here in the American Division is Talmadge and Green. This one went into overtime, and it was only again, it comes down to those failed 2-point conversions as Talmadge survives a late surge in overtime to get a victory 47-46 in overtime. Talmadge quarterback Ty Hurst had a pretty pedestrian night given what we've seen from him in the last couple of weeks. He went 21 of 40 for 254 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception, but he also had a rushing touchdown on the night as well. Talmadge wide receiver Colin Dixon did have 17 receptions, 177 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the night. Moving on to the next week, we have league play in the American Division, and we'll go over that here. Aurora will travel in to take on Copley. Barberton travels to take on Kent Roosevelt. Revere will look to right the ship here against Cuyahoga Falls, and Highland goes in to take on Talmadge, which could go a long way in determining this division going forward. Moving on, we have the National Division, and as Josh mentioned, the Bees of Brecksville did not get the victory over Strongsville, 41-20. They lost 41-20 in that. Hudson traveling to take on Warren Harding. They had a very good night, winning 21-7. Running back Ian Ludwig had 27 carries, 152 yards, and 1 touchdown. Quarterback Jagger Pillay for the Explorers went 8 of 18, throwing with 123 yards and a touchdown on the night to give Hudson the 21-7 victory. Mayfield versus Nordonia, and this was the Joey Palinkas show all night long for Nordonia. The Knights were led by quarterback Joey Palinkas, who had who basically owned the night here, went 17 to 23, 199 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 2 rushing touchdowns on the night. Basically, it was the Palinkas show. They get the victory, 48 to 27 over Mayfield at home. North Royalton improved to 2-1 on this season with a 28 to 21 victory, led by Saeed Abuhande with his 107 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns on the night. North Royalton improves to 2-1 on the season as they get the 28 to 21 victory over Padua. Stowe versus Solon, and as Josh mentioned, Stowe had a 14-0 lead going into halftime, a very big lead, but not insurmountable, as Solon was able to come back and get the game-winning field goal as time ran out. Stowe loses 14 to 17 on a late field goal. I know that made Ed Dick the proudest guy in the world when you see a walk-off field goal that's made, especially from that distance. I mean, 42 yards is no joke anywhere, whether it's high school, whether it's college, whether it's the pros nowadays. Moving on, Josh also went over this one. Medina, I think, kind of survived a little bit here. I think maybe a little bit of a hangover, a big win after over Avon. Maybe caught sleeping a little bit coming in to take on a very game Wadsworth here. One important thing to note in this game is that they were playing their backup quarterback as their Luke Fisher got hurt in the game against Worcester last week and could not play. So backup Will Stack ended up stepping in and stepped in admirably with 239 yards passing and 1 touchdown. The Grizzlies running back had 31 carries and 170 yards and 4 touchdowns on the night. That is all. We'll go over what's to look forward to in the National next week as Wadsworth travels in to take on the Bees of Brecksville. Twinsburg will travel in to take on Hudson. North Royalton travels in to take on Nordonia. And our lone out of conference matchup, Stowe will travel in to take on Medina. Guys, it's looking at really fun here. No, I'm sorry. Please don't interrupt me. I don't interrupt you with my bees. But that's all that's fit to print from the Suburban League. Back to you, Ed.
Sean's tremendous job as always on those recaps. Let's talk about the American Division and the quarterback play that we've seen so far in the American Division, specifically from Talmadge and Copley. I mean, it is not for lack of scoring that Copley has not, that Copley's been on the wrong end of the ledger there. Quickly break down, what you've noticed from the quarterbacks in the American Division.
Well, it's important to note that Dajuan Owens is a junior. I mean, he's only going to get better. Whereas, and again, taking nothing away from Ty Hurst, I think Ty Hurst has been a consistent player all year, or for the past 4 years, really. He's a 4-year starter there. He has Colin Dixon, who's a Wisconsin commit. I mean, that's something where, we talked last week about Stodden and I can't think of his name from Medina.
Brendan
Schramm. Thank you. I'm sorry. How they work together, and I see that same thing with Ty Hurst and Colin Dixon. Dajuan Owens is a special player. I mean, he's a special player. He's leading that Copley offense, and you know what? A Buckeye team I don't think I've ever seen put up that many points in as long as we've been covering. Rob, we're doing the Buckeye recap, by the way, just in case.
Right now? We're doing it right now?
Right now. They scored 67 points.
I thought you did
There was a time. No, Rob, I'm trying to tell you, there was a time when we started covering football that they didn't score 67 points until like week 8. And that was total points, the way Buckeye was kind of 4 yards in a cloud of dust. So that's really impressive on both sides of the ball there. I also want to point out, obviously, we talk about quarterback play in the American, but in the National Division, we're going to have him on the show here. Joey Palinkas had a really fantastic night. He is my G&G Fitness nominee for Player of the Week for the Suburban League. Just really put the team on his shoulders and took control of that game. 17 to 23, 199 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a lone interception, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns on the night. That's leadership. And just kind of a head scratcher going into league play. You got to wonder where Stowe's head's at. They got blanked by Barberton last week. They lost a tough one here to Solon, and now they go and take on the Air Bees of Medina. I mean, they got to write the ship here because they're about to jump into a very tough tough national division.
Just rolls off your tongue, doesn't it, Sean?
It really doesn't.
The Airbees.
I have to wash it out of my mouth.
While Sean is doing that, let's get going with the Great Lakes Conference as they will we'll wrap up our recaps here. See what I got going there. All right, as Sean so astutely put this together for us. Let's start with the Buckeye and Copley game, as Sean talked about earlier. On the Buckeye side, boy, you're right, Sean. This is the only they've scored. They haven't scored this many points really ever. They've done this one other time in school history. Is the second most points in scored in school history. They had 619 yards of total offense. They scored 28 points in the second quarter to get to a 35-27 halftime lead that they were able to hold. Quarterback Casey Murray was very efficient. He completed 11 of 14 passes for 210 yards and a touchdown. Running back Troy McCann rushed 32 times for 226 yards and 4 touchdowns. Gage Nagy rushed another 16 times for 169 more yards and then 2 more touchdowns. Buckeye in total rushed for over 400 yards, but they were able to do whatever they wanted to behind Todd Allen and that tremendous Buckeye offensive line. With the win, Buckeye continues their undefeated start at 3-0. As Sean mentioned, Copley falls to 1-2. As you mentioned, as we see here, Holy Name had a bye week this week, so they got to rest up and get ready for their Week 4 tilt. Lakewood took on Fairview in cross-division action. Lakewood Junior quarterback Alex Simons was 4 of 7 passing for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged almost 40 yards per completed pass. He also rushed 19 times for 115 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Eddie Gillick from the Rangers caught 2 passes for 89 yards and a touchdown. Linebacker Garrett Schwader led the team with 8 tackles, 4 assists, and 1 tackle for loss. Lakewood gets a 28-7 victory over the Fairview Park Warriors. Lakewood improves to 2-1. Fairview drops to 1-2. As we mentioned earlier, Normandy and North Ridgeville was the SOT featured game of the week. Josh was at that game. We will get into that after our interviews later tonight. West Geauga gets a 20-6 victory over Parma. The Redmen fall to 0-3 overall. West Geauga improves to 1-2. Another crossover action. Valley Forge got a 27-7 victory over Rocky River. It was for Rocky River. Stan Hewler caught 7 passes for 107 yards and a touchdown to get the Pirates their lone score. But for Valley Forge, they kept doing what they do. They run the ball. They rushed for over 350 yards. Running back Shane Warden rushed 19 times for 129 yards, and Ben Farson had 13 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. With the win, Valley Forge moves to 2-1. Rocky River, the defending Great Lakes Conference champions, they remain winless at 0-3. Moving over to the West Division, University School took on Bay, and for Bay quarterback Tony Batari rushed for Bay's only score. Charlie Rogers did force and recover a fumble for the Rockets, but it was not enough. The Preppers get the 28-7 victory over Bay. Bay drops to 2-1. University School improves to 2-1. We had another SOT featured game of the week. Elyria Catholic taking on Midview. We'll talk about this game a little bit later as well. Sean was out at that game and did a tremendous job covering that as well. North Olmsted, as Rob talked about earlier, they get a 58-14 victory over Amherst. The Eagles put up a lot of points in the first quarter, Rob mentioned before. It was senior quarterback Xavier Balson, ball out. He completed 17 of 25 passes for 380 yards and 5 touchdowns. He also rushed for 25 more yards and a touchdown. That's over 400 yards of total offense and 6 touchdowns. Recent GLC Player of the Week nominee Jared Kelly he will be a future Player of the Week nominee. I will guarantee you that. But recent Sports on Tap guest Jared Kelly, he definitely enjoyed his time on the show. He rushed for 10 times for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. He caught 7 passes for 143 more yards and 3 more touchdowns. Complete dominance by North Olmsted. Amherst, as Rob mentioned, they put up 14 points in the first quarter. They were shut out the rest of the way. North Olmsted gets a 58-14 victory in a well-deserved first victory for North Olmsted. They've been putting up points left and right, and they were able to get it together on both sides of the ball. They now improved to 1-2. Amherst remains winless at 0-3. Our last game on the slate, Westlake took on Warrensville Heights. Warrensville Heights scored the first 14 points in the game, and Westlake kept chiseling away. They scored 24 unanswered points, scoring in both the second and the fourth quarters. Quarterback Sam Brucieri completed 8 of 13 passes for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Demons. Junior running back Matthew Porcelli, he had 139 yards rushing on 29 carries. Westlake comes back, gets the 24-14 victory over Warrensville Heights Tigers. With the win, Westlake moves to 2-1. Warrensville Heights drops to 0-3. My G&G Fitness Equipment Player of the Week nominee this week is Buckeye running back Troy McCann. What a tremendous performance in a game where they had to score. They could not score with what DeJuan Owens and Copley was doing. It seemed turnovers and stops were at an extreme premium in that game, and Troy McCann certainly helped keep the chains moving and the scoreboard changing for the Bucks. Congratulations to Troy McCann, G&G Fitness Equipment Player of the Week nominee for the Great Lakes Conference. We are into nothing but crossover games for the Great Lakes Conference in Week 4. We'll go North Olmsted is 1-2. They will play against Buckeye. That is they are 3-0. Elyria Catholic is 2-1. They will travel to Parma Heights to take on the Holy Name Green Wave. The Holy Name will have had a week off to gear up for that game. Rocky River will travel to Lakewood. Rocky River is 0-3. Lakewood is 2-1. On Thursday night, Fairview is going to travel to Normandy to take on the Invaders. That will be an evening affair at Byers Field there. On Saturday, Westlake will travel to Parma. Westlake's 2-1 overall. They will take on 0-3 Parma. That game will also be at Byers Field. The Parma Public Schools are owning Byers Field this week. And Bay Village will travel to Valley Forge. Both teams are 2-1. And that game will be played on Friday night. So it is an all Parma Public School Friday night weekend for Byers Field. So all you Parma fans out there, there's plenty of football right in your backyard. Make sure you go check it out. That is all we have. Just
to point out, I forgot to add this to the slide because I just remembered it. Important note, the Elyria Catholic Holy Name game will be played Friday night at North Royalton Stadium.
Yes.
At the North Royalton Stadium, as Holy Name does not actually have a home field. My bad on that, but I want to let our viewers know that if they show up to Holy Name expecting a football game, they are in for some bad news. It's at North Royalton.
I appreciate that clarification. I should know better. That was a good, but I appreciate that. So head on over to Serpentini Field Stadium in North Royalton to check out the Namers and the Panthers of Elyria Catholic. So before we get to our first guest of the night, Great Lakes Conference again. They're showing their mettle here. Right now, you have Buckeye is the only undefeated team at the moment, and they have had a pretty tough non-conference slate. Elyria Catholic is a 2-point conversion away against a very tough Sandusky Perkinson being 3-0 themselves. North Olmsted has scored a lot of points, and they are finally able to get the stops to go along with the offense there. We'll talk more about Normandy and a little bit later in the show as well. Lakewood with a 2-1 start, and what may have not been thought of as a competitive game, just looking at the outside based off of previous year's results. That game against Rocky River is shaping up to be a really good one at First Federal Stadium in Lakewood, between the defending Great Lakes Conference champions there. Westlake looking to continue their impressive start against Parma as well. Bay and Valley Forge, that's gonna be a tremendous game. And boy, Buckeye and North Olmsted, I don't know if there's gonna be enough notches on the scoreboard based off what those two offenses have done to contain what's going to happen there. So that's going to be a very, very good game as well. And so that is our week 3 recap for our respective conferences: the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Southwestern Conference, the Suburban League, and the Great Lakes Conference. Before we get our first guest, will be Nordonia quarterback Joey Palinkas. Let's do a quick more shout out to our sponsors, Raymond Felton State Farm. Again, they are at 234-284-2996, 5603 Darrow Road, Suite 500 in Hudson, Ohio. They call Ray's office for a free auto quote to see if you can save money on your auto insurance. Again, RRT Productions. Want to live stream your event, game, tournament, or league? Contact RRT Productions and get a free quote. Again, they are at www.rrt-productions.com to get your quote there. Again, Bandwagon Fantasy Sports. Make sure we're checking out. Join our fantasy league, Sports on Tap CFB 2022. Passcode SOT. Draft your college teams. See how they go and make your adjustments as you need to. Again, that is Bandwagon Fantasy Sports. Not daily, not traditional, just teams, just win. And then, of course, G&G Fitness Equipment. They are our Player of the Week sponsor. LiveFit, www.livefit.com. And also on Twitter at GNG Fitness EQ. And, of course, GV Artwork, gvartwork.com. Use the promo code ONTAP10 to get 10% off of your order. We're going to begin into it here shortly with Nordonia quarterback Joey Palinkas. And I can tell you that Nordonia has had, and Sean can expound on this a little bit before Joey gets on. What a great start to Nordonia. They've picked up where they left off from year to year, and they've had the Levacs for a while. Both Robbie and Billy, they had tremendous quarterback play there. Last year, it continued. You had tremendous seniors. Cooper Rusk was a player that we talked to last year. He's now at Toledo, but he was a 4-year guy, and he really helped Nordonia get to where they were. But Nordonia they have a great culture, and they've just continued doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a program like Nordonia and the league and the division that they're in, and they're there every year, man. I mean, they're a force to be reckoned with. And in most other leagues, in most other divisions, they probably would be the tops. But you look at that division, top to bottom, and you got some really tough teams in there. You got a Wadsworth team, you got Hudson, you got at any point in time Nordonia, you got even North Royalton from time to time has been able to throw a wrench into the system and kind of spice things up. So it's interesting, and it's been nice to see Nordonia be consistent. Like you mentioned, the Levacs and now Palinkas doing what he's been doing. I look for them to continue to do that. And I think given kind of where Stowe is and where, some of the other teams are, I think Nordonia's got a shot here. And I think it's because of guys like Joey Palinkas and their offense and their defense. Every year their defense is fantastic. So I'm very excited to follow them throughout the rest of this year, especially now that we're getting into the, league play.
And we are joined live on our show. We are joined by Joey Palinkas, senior quarterback from the Nordonia Knights. Joey had he had 5 touchdowns. He had three passing touchdowns, 2 on the ground, almost 240 yards of total offense in their victory over Mayfield. Joined by Joey Palinkas. Thank you for being on the show, Joey. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Joey, tremendous job this past week against a tough Mayfield team. The first 3 weeks, you guys are 3-0. Let's talk a little bit about your 3-0 start. How have you guys? What's been the big keys for you guys for your team and your 3-0 start so far?
I'd say, a lot of this starts from, back January 1st, we're in the barn off Highland Road, and we've been just putting all the work this past off season. Guys have been putting in the time, the weight room, all the practice on film. They're studying, doing their stuff. So not really sure what to expect going into the season, but had a few guys leave us from graduation, obviously. Yeah.
Joey, one of the questions I want to ask you is, you've been a starter for a couple years and you've been doing that. What are the things that you've been working on as to kind of hone your craft, so to speak, going into this year being your senior year?
I'd say, defensive structure, Coach Fox tries to help us with that, during film and stuff. Trying to make smarter plays, eliminate turnovers, just trying to make smart plays with the ball.
So, Joe, you talked about, the guys that you lost to graduation. Now, this year, senior year, obviously quarterback, the most important position on the field. Talk about, for you, your style of leadership and what you had to do coming into this offseason. You said you started January 1st, but, how have you yourself taken on that leadership role for this team?
Oh, yeah. So definitely, as a quarterback, you got to be a leader, vocal, and that's really what Coach Fox preaches to everyone. It's not just the 11 starters on offense and defense. He wants everyone throughout the program. Everyone's a leader in his mind, and it should be that way because, the young guys or the old guys can pick up the young guys, and it's the same way around. The young guys can pick up the old guys. It doesn't matter how old you are. So it's a role for everyone, really.
Yeah, Joey, so far a lot of success this season. Thanks for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it. I'm sure you had practice and are pretty busy, so we appreciate you coming on and talking with us a little bit. Talk a little bit about your offense, some of the weapons that you guys have, and I'm sure you got to love your offensive line, especially when they give you a lot of time to find all kinds of weapons on the offense. So talk a little bit about your team and the offensive side of the ball, some of the players that some of our viewers might want to watch out for.
Yeah, so our offense, we have a lot to work with, a lot of different play actions, a lot of different personnel sets for some guys with some speed, like Devin Tufts, Israel Petit, quick guys. Israel actually plays. He's been playing defense. He played last year. He started as a sophomore. But he's another guy that, he's kind of making his way through the offensive scene, and he's a wrestler. He's a good wrestler, so he's good for us. Craig Aiken, Nolan Cribbs are returning back for us. They're in my grade. They're seniors. They know the offense. They're big leaders, especially for us. So yeah, just a lot to work with. A lot of that's.
We're talking with Nordonia quarterback Joey Palinkas. A tremendous game last week. Joey, with being that you're a senior now, you're more experienced. Talk a little bit about the relationship that you have with Coach Fox. I mean, are you guys able to bounce some ideas off each other? Kind of have a little bit of a give and take. You have some input into what the program into what the offensive game plan is. Maybe more this year than maybe you did last year.
Yeah, definitely. So Coach Fox, he likes to communicate, obviously. So before, during a game week, this week, Monday and today, we'll go through our plays, whatever, because every week's a little bit different what we have for the offensive script. But he's always asking questions what are you comfortable with? What are you not comfortable with? And they kind of have the plays ready for the week. And if there's something in practice that we're kind of struggling with, he gives me the opportunity to be we might need more work with this in practice so I can get a better feel, because we don't want to go into the game obviously messing anything up. But yeah.
Joey, I mean, we start National Division League play this week with you guys. You guys are hosting North Royalton. Without giving too much away for the week ahead, what are some of the things that you and Coach Fox have discussed as far as what North Royalton does defensively that you guys need to kind of watch out for or be on the lookout for?
They got they're a physical team. It's last year we kind of took them for granted, and they got us in a close one. Well, second half we tried to come back, we couldn't pull it away, but they're tough players, and so we just gotta stay focused. Can't take them lightly for sure.
All right, Joey. So we're going through. We're already in week 4 of the 2022 season, which is quite amazing. But for you, just kind of looking at it, what's your favorite part of the week for you? Is it game day? Is it film session? What's your favorite part of the week as the starting quarterback?
I mean, game days are great. I mean, that's really what I look forward to. I guess game days, like it's a long week, everyone's kind of just working their butts off, but it's nothing like being under at the stadium playing our games. So it's just it's a great environment, and I'd say just being on game days is what I look forward to.
And Coach Fox, I can answer for him. He really likes film session. It's his favorite thing to do. He likes to break down film, but the game night is where all the fun is at, I guess, right?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, Joey, besides football, do you play any other sports?
Yeah, I play basketball for the high school team.
Awesome. What position do you play?
Power forward, shooting guard. Like it's kind of mixed around. He's kind of give us some freedom to, but yeah. So just kind of playing around a little bit.
How do you been able to? And we talk to coaches, and we always ask them if they want their athletes playing multiple sports, and for the most part, it's a resounding yes, which is awesome to hear. How do you deal with the transition from basketball, from football to basketball, and then how do you split your time in the off season between both sports?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a quick transition. I think after our last week of football, the next Monday, I'm into basketball. So it's really quick. Sometimes our basketball coach, he's flexible. He gives us a week off if we really want. But usually I'm just I'm in my head. I just want to get back into the game and get around. But yeah, for the off season, it's kind of I'm kind of on my own time. It's hard to make some of the open gyms that we have for this planned out, because it's kind of hard with this football schedule, obviously. But on the weekends, Sundays and Saturdays, I try to get in the gym as much as I can, because I'm kind of what's the word? I don't know. I'm kind of behind schedule, I guess.
I think I have a question that Josh was going to ask if he played defense in football, but I'll ask this one. Would you rather throw a game-winning touchdown pass to win the state championship, or would you rather sink a game-winning three-pointer in the basketball state championship?
Oh man,
I'd say throw a touchdown. Throw a touchdown.
Wow.
There it is.
I like it.
There it is.
I like it.
Nice.
I like it.
Oh, it'll keep you busy playing basketball, and it'll keep you in shape too. I mean, well, football does that, I'm sure, but in the off season, it's a lot of fun, I'm sure, for you to hoist threes. I mean, the coach lets you do what you want. You said you played power forward and small forward, so it's kind of fun that you can play different positions. Did you start off playing quarterback always at Nordonia, or did you play some different positions that kind of led to quarterback?
Yeah, so I've always played quarterback as my primary position, and obviously I'm an athletic kid. I'm pretty tall. I've never been the heaviest, obviously, but I've played a little bit of defense my freshman year in JV. I played a little bit. I played safety, and this year they've kind of just I haven't been playing on defense, but they wanted me to go to corner and stuff, because I think I just as a quarterback I can read the quarterbacks. I kind of know what they're thinking, so it's I think I can make good reads in the field and stuff, and just make some plays if I need to. And I'm on a few different packages for end of game stuff, but besides that, yeah, no defense really. But
so, do you think playing defense actually helps you as a quarterback? Say you kind of know what the defense is doing, or you can see what they're doing. Now that you had that experience playing defense, that you can kind of view and see what's going on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it definitely gives me an idea of kind of what's going on before high school, I guess, or before I started practicing with varsity and stuff, sophomore, junior year. Sophomore, I guess. We've learned a lot, especially I'm trying to keep up with it. I'm kind of trying to stick with the playbook and all that, but it definitely gives me an upper hand when it comes to that. So
absolutely.
Hey, I have one more question for you, Joey. Are there any colleges that you're interested in, or any colleges that are looking at you for either sport?
I'm kind of. I haven't really been talking to any colleges. I'm kind of still undecided, like really what I want to do. So it's definitely something I have to kind of pick up. But yeah.
You got enough on your plate at the moment. Right now, you got North Royalton coming into your house, and I'm sure you're knee deep in that. So, Joey, we want to thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us, especially in mid-season. What a great start to the year for the Knights, and a great job by you so far. Best of luck to you. We look forward to we'll look forward to following your season, and hopefully we'll see if we can't chat a little bit before the end of the year, or maybe a little bit afterwards as well.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
That is Nordonia quarterback Joey Palinkas joining us on the show. What a great student athlete. A couple of years in the system of Coach Fox. You can tell that that influence has permeated a little bit there. It's a 1 week at a time deal there, and they've had a really good start. And with some of the wins that they've already gathered, I think they're going to keep themselves in pretty good playoff positioning once we start getting more involved there. So, again, North Royalton will travel to Nordonia in week 4. Without further ado, we are joined by Avery Viancourt, defensive end from the Avon Lake. Thank you very much for joining us, Avery. Thanks for taking the time on short notice to join our show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. I will. You know what? I'll take this, sir. Wow. That's excellent.
When's the last time somebody called you, sir? That's the real question here.
I'm not sure. I would have
to assume not many times because he was surprised by that, sir. But you took it like a champ, Ed. Good job.
Yeah, sometimes you hear it and you're like, don't call me that. But you know what? I appreciate that. That's a good. You got a good head on your shoulders, Avery. Avery, you guys are off to a great start. Three relatively big victories over Strongsville, Brecksville, and St. John the Baptist. You couldn't keep the shutout streak going on the entire season. But talk a little bit about about the defense and how you guys have started the year so far. What your team's been keying on that's allowed you to have the success so far.
Yeah. So basically, our focus is basically our speed. We're really quick, and we love our speed, and we're very physical up front too. We got huge big tackle and Caden Peters, about 6'5", 240, and it's just so fun out there playing with all of them. And we know what we want, and we're gonna get what we want. So
I like that. That's a great mentality to have. Avery, one of the things that we've been following, just one, is your guys' ability to really just clamp down on really any sort of success that the other team is getting with you know what I'm saying? You guys don't allow sustained success. Maybe someone gets you for a huge chunk, but you guys kind of make adjustments. How important is adjustments during the game for your defense? Are you guys constantly talking about that with the coaches on the sideline as to what you're seeing from the booth, but also what you're seeing on the field?
Oh, yeah. So, basically in practice, the coach puts us in these positions that we're not supposed to win. We practice like that most of the time, and that's our first thing we do when we get a sideline. I like to go up to our D-line and say, have you heard something? When they call this number, what are they doing on this play? It's all about communication. And after a big play also, we like to have a goldfish memory and just forget about it. And it's a long game. You can't have one play just take us over like that.
Avery, I was actually at your first game against Strongsville, and what you said about physicality and speed is 100% correct. Going into the season, I'm sure you had an idea that your defense was going to be good. And by the way, you're the first defensive player we've had on this season, so congratulations on that. But going into the season, I'm sure you guys probably figured you were going to have a good defense. But did you figure out you're going to get off to that good of a start with basically going 11 quarters without giving up a point?
Not really. I want to say yes, but I don't want to be too cocky about it. But we like to push each other every day in practice. That's kind of our thing. It's my job is just I want to be the best practice player I can for both sides of the ball, give everybody a good look. And if we're not doing that in practice, we're not doing something right. So if we're not pushing each other every day like we do, then I don't think we would have had that start. But we are, so they can't ask for more.
Well, and it's okay if you if you feel like you're a little being a little cocky, but like, for instance, Strongsville, since that game that they've played, their offense has really picked up. Last week, as a team, they rushed for 313 yards, and against you guys, they couldn't get anything going. In fact, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I didn't think Strongsville was going to be as decent as they are because the game that I saw, you guys just could not. That you wouldn't let them get anything going on the offensive end. So just talk about, as a team, are you guys building on that every year? Is it opponent or every game? Is it opponent specific on how you guys are doing this defensive game plan?
I mean, pretty much we watch film. We know what to do. Coach tells us what we have to stop and what we have to do. Sometimes it's force the quarterback to throw or it's, kill the run. But we preach on that all week and we practice hard all week. And that's how we got all our success this week.
Hey, Avery, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate you coming on. Talk a little bit about some of the other defensive players that are having a big year for you guys. I know it's early on in the season, and you're one of the captains on the team, but there's some other players that have been having really good seasons. I know you guys are quick to the ball, a lot of interceptions, but up front, it really starts with you guys getting pressure on the quarterback and forcing that quarterback to make a quick decision. Talk a little bit about some other defensive players that you play with that doesn't get the recognition they deserve.
I feel like our other end, Carter Surgeon, does a great job every game. He does his 1/11th, as our coach says, and he's really good, especially on pass rush. I've never seen a kid so physical yet so strong. And our linebackers, Jason Grukowski, Jeremy Broush, and Derek McCrum, so fast and so physical. McCrum knows how to read the hole. Broush just so physical. Laserwood and Crux just so phenomenal, and his pass coverage. Gonna ask for a better front seven.
We're talking with Avon Lake defensive end Avery Viancourt. The players you mentioned again having tremendous success this year as well. I want to ask about you guys have had some really good success over the years. You're starting to come up in the conference play, and you're starting with the rival. You're starting with a team. I'm sure I can't say the name. I'm sure you have a name for them, so I'm gonna just leave it at that. But you have a big rivalry game coming up this week. Without giving too much away, for this specific edition of it, I mean, you guys know each other in and out from the years of battle. Is there anything specific to this year that you may, without giving too much away, that that you might be keying on or wanting to focus on a little bit more?
Yeah, we just gotta keep playing our sound defense. Kind of just kill their offense. Just gotta do our 1/11th. Everyone in the field just gotta be one big team. Can't be 11 players on the field. We gotta be one big group and just play physical and play fast. It's how we play.
I have to imagine the reflection of that is from your head coach, Coach Kostelnik. A stud player at Mount Union. Back in the late 2000s. How much of the influence and how much of the obviously you want to follow your head coach's lead, but how much influence does he have on you guys, and how much does he impart that on you guys?
Oh, so much. We all respect Coach so much. I mean, it's so great. Even sometimes during practice, he'll get into it, start doing the plays with us. I couldn't ask for a better coach. He's my favorite coach I've ever had. So.
Avery, I always like to ask this because it's not often that you have the big rivalry game just this early in the year. I mean, you guys have had it last couple of years as your first game, but now you guys both teams have had an opportunity to kind of ramp up a little bit. I know you have to take them one game at a time. I know all the cliches, but this one has got to feel a little bit different, though, man. Right? Like this is the one you lace up your pads a little tighter, and you want to lay a little lumber on somebody just to let them know who's best, which Avon is best, Avon or Avon Lake. Am I right?
Yeah.
What? Rivalry week, baby.
Now, do you have any friends? I'm sure playing football, Avon Lake, Avon. There's a lot of cross. You have the rivalry there. But do you know any players on their team that you wanna go at and have fun with, or do you not talk to them during this
Not
week?
this week.
There's some kids that we want to, lay the wood on a little bit, but we still got players, sound, smart defense, and just take care of business. Just another day.
Yeah, Avery, do you play any other sports besides football?
I do not. I'm just focused on football, sir.
Nice, very good.
That's
He
that's
served you
two
again.
sirs.
That's right.
2 serves in less than 15
Nice.
minutes.
I had
You're
to.
so old.
I like it. That's fantastic. Do you have any college? Are you looking at playing at the next level, or are there any colleges that you're looking at, or any colleges that are interested in you?
Yeah, I have 5 offers right now. I got Mount Union, Baldwin Wallace, John Carroll, Capital, Wellington, and then I have Windsor College in Canada. But I'm kind of just, I'm just focused on the season right now, and just I'll do all the college stuff after season, discuss it with my mom and everything, see what the right fit is.
Absolutely.
Smart move.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a smart move. That way you can focus on the season, kind of enjoy the season, with all your friends. And I'm sure, you've played. How long have you played football? Have you played football since you were a little kid with a lot of the guys you're playing with now?
Yeah, I remember playing flag football with them back in kindergarten, just on the baseball fields, just roughing each other up. I've known these kids my whole life, and just our senior year, it's kind of surreal, but it's just also fun too. We love to live in the moment.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to guess there were a few times in kindergarten you accidentally tackled the kid instead of grabbing the flag, right?
Yeah, I was the aggressive kid that always hurt someone.
That worked out well for you, I think, Avery. I think it's going pretty well for you.
Yeah,
So Avery, oh sorry, Rob.
No, go
I was
ahead,
just going to
Josh.
ask you, buddy, since you're 100% focused on football 24/7, 365 days a year, what's with the exception of game days, because we talked to Joey Palinkas and he loves game days. We all know you guys love game days. We did playing in high school as well, but what's your favorite thing about playing the game? Is it film session? Is it off-season workouts? Is it practice? What's your favorite part about just playing the game of football, other than the game itself?
I really love training, but it's got to be practice, especially during those compete periods when it starts getting all heated. It's my favorite. I love pushing people's buttons too, get them all riled up.
I'm sure Coach Kostelnik is a big fan of. I'm sure he's a big fan of you and the rest of that defense as you guys taking a battle here coming up against Avon. Avery, thank you so much for joining us. You guys have had obviously a great start to the season. We're going to be following you throughout the rest of the year. And maybe we'll catch up with you either before the end of the year or sometime afterwards. But best of luck to you and the Shoremen for the rest of the season.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on, everybody.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming on. It was great talking with you, and good luck the rest of the season with that Shoreman defense. Everybody knows about you, so have a great rest of the season.
Thank you. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir.
You got sir.
That is Avery Viancourt, Avon Lake defensive end. That was fantastic.
What a mannerly gentleman.
Yes, the gray on my face has certainly gotten me probably more serious than.
Yeah, but that's the kind of player you want to be anchoring your defensive line right there at defensive end. You could tell the whole interview he was smiling, and that's what you want. A kid that loves the game of football, loves the physicality. So that's what you want out of your defensive captain, and the results have shown this year so far. Only giving up 7 points in 3 games, so it's going to be one heck of a game coming up this Friday. Obviously the rival game one of the big ones around in the region, and it's going to be fun to see what happens in that game. But they got a test,
Yeah.
Jacora and Caffey, leading the way for the Eagles. So it's going to be a tough matchup for them. But I think they're up for the challenge.
That's what I think is going to be fun to watch. Is Avon's offense is so strong. I mean, they can put up a lot of points on you and quick. But Glenville had a pretty successful plan to keep them at 21 points. I mean, they still put up 21 points. Avon Lake, they always have that great defense that everybody knows about. What's going to happen when they face Avon? That's going to be a fun thing to watch. And Avon Lake's offense is no slouch either. They've done a great job so far this season. They have weapons from all over the place. So it's going to be a great matchup. And, obviously it's going to be covered all over the place. So a fun game if you can get out to go and you want to see some good high school games. That's one that's going to be fun to watch.
No doubt. And then speaking of games to watch, we had two awesome games that we had that we covered this past week. Four very good teams, or four teams with very good records. That going into the rounds here. Let's quickly go over those. Sean and Josh were out and about at their respective locations. Let's start with Josh. He went to Normandy in North Ridgeville. You got to see the freshman phenom up close and personal against the Invaders. So talk a little bit about that game and what you saw there.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Yeah, it was. I was looking forward to having a good game. Two teams coming into this game undefeated. I wanted to get a good look at Ridgeville because their running attack was very strong. In this game, though, and even head coach Brian Morgan said after the game, the offense wasn't really in sync, and that's kind of ironic to hear that after a team wins 51-10. But in this game specifically, it was more the defense for Ridgeville really holding back Normandy. Normandy could not get really anything going on the offensive end. And also special teams for the Rangers played a big part in this one. They blocked a punt for a touchdown. Connor Kostick had a great game for the Rangers, not only receiving, he did catch a touchdown pass. He ran one in, and he actually was the one who blocked the punt and picked up the ball and ran it in for a touchdown. So like Coach Morgan said after the game, I did have a quick minute to talk to him. He didn't seem very happy with the way that his offense played in that game, a little inconsistent, but he was very happy about his special teams and his defense in this game, specifically against Normandy. Now, there was maybe some little pregame talk going on between the two teams. Things got a little heated afterwards, a little bit of yelling, heat of the moment type stuff. So I think the score was a little indicative of what was said possibly before the game. But that's, just my opinion from kind of looking afar. But nonetheless, it was a Rangers beatdown with the exception of a field goal and a screen pass, 16-yard screen pass for a touchdown that they gave up. But other than that, it was all Rangers again. And Barnhart, the freshman running back, he did score in this game, but he didn't have, it's one of those down games. As a freshman young player coming off a really big game 2 weeks, the week before prior had 170 yards rushing. Didn't have as many in this game. It was more of a collaborative effort on the offensive end with some big plays for the Rangers. So nonetheless, it was a featured game, game of the week, but it wasn't a really that good of a game, to be honest with you. One-sided affair.
Yeah, I'm surprised Coach Morgan was disappointed. His offense put up 51 points in this game. I mean, like you said, the defense really kept Normandy in check, and they couldn't get into any kind of rhythm. Still watching these highlights, you're seeing some of the defensive plays that their quarterback was struggling a lot during this game, and they brought pressure, and they were high flying all over the place. Big interceptions, big turnovers for the Rangers defense. But, their offense, you saw a few nice passes there, and obviously running is North Ridgeville's strength. But defensively, was pretty impressed. Obviously, it was a highlight video of some of the highlights from the game, but, looked pretty impressive. And now they're 3-0 on the season. And North Ridgeville really, their confidence has to be riding high so far this season.
Yeah, and I think you're right on that one, Robin. And they're starting to get a little bit of notoriety. The first AP poll came out today. They're just on the outside looking in for Division Two. They did get quite a few votes, 40 votes, I believe, to get into that state ranking, the AP ranking. So as long as they keep winning, they're going to see themselves get higher and higher. But right now they're focused. They do have some things to work on, but obviously every team does. It's not going to be the same every week. But they're well on their way to having a very successful year.
And with that, so North Ridgeville again, they're going to start conference play against Amherst Steel, and they have a pretty good chance of as long as they don't look ahead and don't overlook Coach Fritz and the Comets. They have a pretty based on what we've seen so far, they have a pretty good chance at maybe getting into that top 10 for Division II statewide. Our other featured game of the week was Elyria Catholic and Midview, and Sean was at this game, and let's go through that game as well.
Yeah, this one was a fun game to follow because it wasn't a very high-scoring affair. There wasn't a lot of points being scored. But one thing that I came into this game looking for was to really get a sense of where Midview's at as a program. And from what I saw, there's a lot of heart on that team, but just not a lot of execution right now. It was a very sloppy game on both sides. Brady Cook had a couple of interceptions, one that turned into points for Midview. But again, from an Elyria Catholic standpoint, you can afford to kind of make those mistakes when you have a running back as dynamic as Levi Ellis is. The guy had 2 touchdowns rushing the ball, and oh, by the way, had a beautiful pop pass for a touchdown in the third quarter to kind of extend the lead and kind of settle down any momentum that Midview kind of had after that pick 6. So, I look at this game as a building block for Elyria Catholic. They were very, very solidly on the offensive side of the ball, with the exception of maybe some bad throws or some tip balls that didn't go their way. Brady Cook looked very good. They also were working in their sophomore quarterback. I did not catch his name. I believe it's Hector something. I left it, but I wanted to mention him because he had a very, very, very good couple series that he was in as the starting quarterback. And I think, obviously with Brady Cook being a senior, Levi Ellis being a senior, you want to see that progression. And when you can give him time give him some time, like not just mop-up duty, but like actual game time where he's running an offense, that gives a player a lot of confidence going into the next year. Defensively, I thought Elyria Catholic and Midview did really great jobs of limiting points. I mean, I know we look at the score, it's 35-14, but keep in mind, this was 14-7 until midway through the third quarter, when it was 21-7, and then there was that pick 6. It's 21-14. All of a sudden, you got that one-score game, and then obviously you turn and hand to Levi Ellis. You let him be the bell cow, and what that does is twofold. One, it calms everything down. You're not in a shootout, and number 2, you really can control the clock, and that's exactly what Elyria Catholic did. They ate up most of the fourth quarter running the ball and scoring that final touchdown. Again, I'd like to see a little bit more consistency from the quarterback position for Elyria Catholic. I think they can clean that up a little bit. They're a formidable force in the GLC, but when you compare that to what Buckeye did, and other teams like that, you got to wonder. You can't afford to make mistakes in this league because they saw it last year. They went up against a Rocky River team and they had a sloppy game, and it did not go well for them, and they were out. And they were on the outside looking in when it came to the GLC championship later in that year. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of business when you can. I think this was a great opportunity for Midview to kind of see where they're at as a program. I tell you this, one of the things that I enjoyed the most was seeing the Midview fans. And I think they're doing some work. They're still doing some work to that Elyria Catholic field, which was very odd because when I walked in, I thought I was on the home side. Turns out what I thought was the home side is actually the away side, where the press box was. So I didn't know. I was all turned around for the first quarter of this game. I had no idea why. I was like, why is Midview on the home side and why is Elyria Catholic on the other side? But I guess that's the way they're doing it this year at Elyria Catholic. the field looks great. I know that's a big change for them this year. And they always have great supporters, both staff and faculty, and just the nicest people you could ask for to come up and ask how you doing. I got a lot of compliments, Josh, on our logo, and especially the hat, because I was wearing it backwards because I was sweating because it was very humid. But I did get a lot of comments. I did get, hey, where can we see your show? I said, look at the shirt, man. It's on the shirt, bro. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Do what you got to do. So I also caught a couple people reading my back, and when you're not paying attention and you forget that you have the logo on your back, you think people are just staring at your butt for a while, and it turns out they weren't. They were trying to read my shirt.
Yeah.
So,
you wish they were.
Well, I do not wish they were.
Well, at first I thought Sean was going to say they wanted to know where they could purchase their Sports on Tap merchandise. That's what I thought you were going
man.
with that.
Hey, when we get 1,000 followers on YouTube, I'll make sure it's all day long, twice on Sunday. I'll turn this into a Sports on Tap merch fest.
Or if there's any local merchandise T-shirt company that'd like to become a sponsor, email us at sportsontap@gmail.com.
And actually,
see the artwork.
I know, dude. We're working on. It would be nice to, maybe have a shirt for the Player of the Week or something. So we'll be working on that.
Yes, we do.
Speaking of that,
that's a great.
You like that? You like that?
Our poll ended, and hey, this was actually a heated competition with this week's G&G Fitness Player of the Week.
Want to give me I will pop it up here as soon as you want it. You ready, Josh?
Drum roll,
go
please.
ahead, buddy. Yeah, once again, we'll rehash the nominees. It was Aaron Teitelbaum of Solon, Lance Glover of Elyria, Troy McCann of Buckeye, and our guest tonight, Joey Palinkas. And this, we had 503 votes in this poll.
Nice.
That ended earlier this evening around 8 o'clock. And with 38.8% of the votes, the winner is our guest, Joey Palinkas. So congratulations to Joey on that one. But, hey, let's give credit to Aaron Teitelbaum and from Solon. 32.2% of the votes. Lance Glover coming in. Lyria really picked up the slack there, 23%. Hey, where's the Buckeye people at? I mean, we've been doing the Buckeye recap for a long time. Maybe they missed the Buckeye poll, but that's okay. We'll get it.
Come on, man.
I'm sure we'll have a nominee from Buckeye later on this year on the G&G Player of the Week poll. Once again, you can vote every week. They'll be going up on Sundays now to give us some time to really look over those nominees. So it'll be going up on Sunday, and you'll have until about 8 o'clock on Monday nights when we do our show. So if you are a player on there or you are a teammate, make sure you're getting those likes and retweets out there so we can get some notoriety from our followers on the great work that these players are doing. It's well-deserved. Obviously, it's a popularity contest, but it's still nice to get some recognition. And we see what you guys are doing, and we appreciate it. We know the hard work and effort that these players go through. So it's actually hard for us to come up with a nominee from each of our conferences because there's so many, really so many players that can validate a nominee. But we like to spread the wealth a little bit. So congratulations to Joey Palinkas on winning this Week 3 G&G Fitness Player of the Week for Week 3. And congratulations to the guys who got nominated as well.
Yeah. And people can always throw names and stats out there for us because obviously we have a lot of different conferences here. So,
and Rob, that's a good point because we did have some Twitter peeps that gave us some recommendations that we truly appreciate. Obviously, you have the same guys going in there. Danny Stoddard could be a nominee every week. Jared Kelly could be a nominee every week. But we do like to spread the word and get. We got about 40 teams. Is that correct, Ed? 40 teams.
41.
41 that we cover, and there's a lot of players. So if you are out there and you do have a good nominee, send us our way at SOT Podcast with your nominee, and we'll gladly take that into consideration.
And it's always good for them to send us some stats too, because a lot of times it is tough to come by stats. I mean, we can get stats, and we do sometimes from the coaches and from certain schools, but it is helpful to have accurate stats that we could put out there and get notoriety for some of these great performances by these players.
I agree.
All right. Now, with that, we will be out and about again next this coming Friday, which is now 3 days away, since we're a day behind due to the Labor Day holiday. Where are we going to be at this week?
Well, I thought about it.
Here it is.
And I thought to myself, Sean.
Just one thought.
Just one. Well, a couple thoughts, but just one that I can share. Sean, you handsome devil, where have you never been to before? And I said, you know what? I never gone to myself and sat and watched a Talmadge Blue Devils football game. So, guys, I'm going to be making the pilgrimage to Talmadge to watch the Highland Hornets take on the Talmadge Blue Devils. I think this is going to be – I'm going to go on record right now, and I'm putting a lot of pressure on this. This may be the best game we do all year. And I'm putting it up against the Medina-Avon game.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Right.
Oh, wow. Man, that's a lot to live up to.
I've been stretching my thumbs out because I think a lot of points are going to be scored. I've been stretching out my thumbs. I got a new phone coming with all kinds of new gadgets to use on game night. So maybe I'll figure out how to actually put together a highlight video. If not,
and I might have something
really
I can send you. I did some research before this show. I might have some options for your Android.
Okay. So yeah, I'll be heading out to Talmadge on Friday. I'm excited. I'm really excited to go out there and see the Ty Hurst, Colin Dixon, and the whole Hee-Haw gang take on the Lucas Stiles and then Coach Gibbons' Hornets. And we'll see. I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, is this Highland's first away game? Or
no, they played at Berea-Midpark.
They played at Berea-Midpark. Okay.
I know that at least.
I'm excited. That's
be a great
where I'll
matchup.
be Friday night. Yep.
And you can follow that. You can follow Sean's tweets and all the live updates at SOT Podcast on Twitter. That'll also go to our website, sportsontap.podcast.com.
And I have to double check some things, but there might be another game in there. We'll you have to check out our website, sportsontap.podcast.com, if you'd like to find if there's another featured game. But I should probably know that pretty quick here.
All right.
One other thing, I'd like to apologize. Last week, I for some reason Twitter screwed up on me and posted the third quarter score as the last play of the game in the Elyria Catholic Midview game, and I got a lot of confused people thinking, why did you say final from Elyria Catholic and then post a score midway through the third quarter? I can't help Wi-Fi. That's part of the reason. I can't help it. It's sometimes those videos are bigger than we want them to be, and they take a while to render and then get uploaded right away. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
Those are some of the challenges with technology, and the fact that we're not professionals. I think we're pretty good at what we do, but mistakes will happen, and we roll with it, and
we learn from it.
We will continue to push on.
As Bob Ross would say, there are no accidents. There's no mistakes, just happy accidents.
Yes. Yes, there is. So next week we will also debut our Power 10, our top 10, the top 10 teams that we consider from just our conferences only. So we will debut that next week as well. In addition to getting another student, at least one student athlete on from the past week's games, in addition to our recaps of our conferences. All right, that seals it up for week 3 of the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Southwestern Conference, the Suburban League, and the Great Lakes Conference. For our sponsors, RRT Productions, Ray Felton State Farm Insurance, Bandwagon Fantasy Sports, GV Artwork, and G&G Fitness Equipment. And again, you're watching us on YouTube at Sports on Tap. Follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcast. Check out our website, sportsontap.podcast.com. Our Facebook page is Sports on Tap. And our email address is sportsontapodcast@gmail.com. For Rob Troutman, Sean Duffy, and Josh Jeffy, my name is Ed Dick. We are Sports on Tap, and we will see you on the other side.